and its link when conflict. Also, we will highlight the humanitarian crisis in Sudan and Congo, share strategies for healing and peace building. We are also launching the Peace and Love Letters campaign, so I invite you to be part of this. The session will run for 1 hour. Please feel free to share your thought in chat. We will have question and answer round to share your reflection and questions. And now I am pleased to hand over to our facilitator to guide us through this dialogue and introduce our speakers. Please welcome to Sabih.
Hello everyone, I hope you're doing great. We should start with Petra from Congo, and technically she has a network connection issue. So I invite other speakers to start, maybe Hakim or Ansam. Someone mute their microphones. Okay. So, Hakim, are you able to start first? Okay, then you just unmute your mic and we're ready to go. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for handing me the word. I'm very humbled for the opportunity to speak today. I'm going to share my presentation now. It's going to be about the relationship between extractivism and peace building in Darfur, and the relationship between extractivism and genocide in Darfur, and what challenges we as peace builders are facing in this context. So, thanks for joining. I will start off with the contents. In the first section, I will speak about neocolonialism in general and what defines a proxy war and why it is a proxy war that we are facing in Sudan. Then I will head on to why extractivism is a driver of genocidal and gender-based violence. And then I will conclude with a third part in which I will clarify what challenges we are facing, but also what we can do in the current situation, how we can raise awareness, and through means of the Peace and Love Letters campaign for Darfur. So first of all, I want to speak about the background conditions for the conflict in Sudan and what is setting the stage really for this conflict. So in the second half of the 20th century, a lot of ex-colonies gained independence, and it seems like it was they gained freedom, but a lot of their independence movements were conditioned on further trade with their ex-colonizers, and under conditions that were very favorable for the ex-colonizer and very bad for the ex-colonized. So when those countries became independent, the European countries and the US tried to build a free trade infrastructure that would integrate the new emerging countries into the world market, so they can keep on extracting their resources. One of the most prominent example for neocolonial agreements is the one between Niger and France, where the French had very favorable conditions for extracting uranium and other ores, minerals, and the prices were also really low. The prices that were paid were really low. And there was no way to go against this. In Nigeria, for example, after independence, it was determined in the constitution that the Nigerians aren't allowed to refine their crude oil, which is why to this day, British Petrol is refining most of their oil, and they have to ship their oil all around the world to South Korea, which refines a large chunk of their oil. So neocolonialism can basically explained as a hijacking of the elites governing a country. So they give up resources for cheap prices and then receive privileges or remain in power in their countries. If anybody challenges these types of supply chains, then they are usually ousted from power or smeared or even murdered, like Patrice Lumumba, for example, who was a prominent victim of imperialism in one of the proxy wars during the global Cold War. Want to head on to the next slide. Okay. So the current background is that the liberal world order is in crisis. You know, there's still a global war going on between the US and a Cold War going on between the US and Russia. And the European Commission stated recently that it has yet to be decided who will dominate the resource markets in Central Asia, India, and Africa. So this was said by Mrs. von der Leyen, and we can see this nowadays that there is a competition over trade routes and supply chains, and that the Western countries need cheap resources to grow and to be able to compete in an emerging multipolar world. Russia, because of the sanctions by the Western countries, needs gold to dampen the effect of these sanctions, but also to remain liquid and be able to conduct investments. And the same goes for China and in general the transformation of our industries to more digitalized industries. We can see, for example, that China supports both the Rwandan government and the DRC, and it also supports mostly the Sudanese army, but also the RSF to some extent through the Emirates. And sometimes we see that it's really just about business and that bigger banks eat smaller banks or bigger fish eat smaller banks, because if push comes to shove, then the US and Russia cooperate, which we could see in relation to deals in regard to Ukraine and Syria, and also the mutual support of both Russia and the US for Kigali. So there's an old strategy called divide et impera. It's as old as the Roman Empire. In English, it can be translated as divide and conquer. So if you are an economic power, a world superpower, and you want to have the resources for very favorable conditions, but your trading partner doesn't agree, then you have to negotiate with them. And that is, of course, more costly or more difficult than simply invading and looting countries. So what superpowers try to do is break up trade blocs, such as the EU. The US has a great problem with the trade union that the EU represents, or also unified regions like the Maghreb, for example, which is why there's currently a conflict between Morocco and Algeria, because when we are isolated, then we have less trading power. And also then countries themselves are being broken up, like Sudan, for example. The youngest country in the world is South Sudan. And when it broke away from Sudan, Unity State, which contains most of the oil reserves, was then handed to Southern Sudan. So you can really see this plan to break up countries. And now we see it again. Hemeti recently announced to secede territory in Western Sudan, and that's where most of the gold mines are. And his brother is in charge of companies, mining companies, and there are Emirati mining companies, and the Sudanese state doesn't own as many. So they are trying to break away Western Sudan so they can control it in a better way. So we can see that diplomatic trade relations are not wanted, and that states use proxy forces or private military contractors or ordinary mercenaries to avoid contact, to avoid being accountable in front of international courts or so. So a prominent example for that is Colombians arriving via Libya, but also via Puntland, which is a region in Somalia that is allied with the Emirates. A great problem in the region is that there are a lot of young men with no life prospects, and so there are a lot of mercenaries pouring in from all types of countries, from Mali, from Chad, from Ethiopia, even from Libya. And if there are a lot of young men who don't have any perspectives, then they can be easily corrupted by militias. And if a country is broken up and there are rivaling militias or so, then they don't think of the common weal of a country or of the future or so. And then they may not make such favorable trade agreements because they just want to sell everything fast and gain wealth fast. So the main interests of foreign stakeholders are gold and oil, among other minerals, but also land for agricultural production and livestock farming. This counts especially for the UAE because it's a very arid country. They need agricultural produce, they need milk and meat from Sudan. So another important key interest point is the occupation of Red Sea ports, so international trade routes can be controlled by various stakeholders. Apart from that, Sudan is also an access point to the African market, and the Emirates sort of represent an entry point for the Western countries, but also for the BRICS Plus states like China and Russia, who have very close trade relations with the UAE. Considering the agricultural produce, there's occupation of South Darfur, which is very fertile, which has very fertile land. Also, Jazeera and Gedaref and Kassala, which are in the east, and there are very arable lands, and also a lot of farmers from Darfur who were settled there at the beginning of the 20th century, as early as the beginning of the 20th century, and they're ethnic Darfuri people because they have great knowledge on pastoralism, on herding cattle and all of that. So that is why they are there. And also victims of targeted killings and genocidal campaigns. And then, of course, in war, there's always a black economy flourishing. So we have a lot of illicit activities ranging from Captagon production in Al Jaili, oil field north of Khartoum. We have human trafficking, there's smuggling, there's slavery, there's child soldier recruitment, There are extortion rackets in transit and destination countries, and of course, illegal mining, gun running, and mercenarism, which goes both ways. So we have a lot of mercenaries from neighboring regions, but the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Emirates have also deployed Sudanese forces in the Yemeni war. So the Saudis used Sudanese soldiers to support the Saudi-led coalition in the Yemeni war, and the Emirates used RSF forces to support Hadi-led militias in Yemen. So the key conflict parties are the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces, who are mainly supported by the Emirates and used to have great support by Russia. Then important for Darfur, there's the Sudanese Liberation Army or Sudanese Liberation Movement, which was headed by three commanders from the three main ethnic groups in Darfur. One of them, the Masalit commander, Abu Bakr, he was assassinated, but Mini Minawi and Abdul Wahid are still alive and in power. So Abdul Wahid, he reigns in the Jebel Marra region, which is sort of this enclave, so it's surrounded by RSF-controlled territory. He doesn't want to associate with the RSF nor the SAF. Mini Minawi is pro-SAF. He was part of the former government. But yeah, and also most of the smaller militias, self-defense militias, are against the RSF. But one greater exception in the Nuba mountainous region is the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement North, under the auspices of Al-Hilu. He cooperates with the RSF in southern Kordofan and besieges the Nuba Mountains. Malik Agar, who is ruling the Blue Nile state, is more in favor of a united Sudan, and yes, has dropped or left his animosity against the Sudanese army behind. So here's a picture. Here you can see the Jebel Marra region. Mini Minawi's SLA is rather in the north, where most Sarawa people live. Here, Jazeera is next to Khartoum. Kassala and Gedaref are here in the east. As we can see, this is where all the arable lands are, and also in southern Darfur, there's also a lot of fertile land and oil. So much for that. I will come back to the maps, and I will get into the stakeholders and into well, their contradictive positions, because we can see that they are not really interested in liberating Sudan or creating conditions of peace, because UN reports often shy away from saying that all the crimes against humanity that are systematically being committed amount to genocide. They say that there's a famine, but genocide and famine shall automatically trigger intervention. And we've seen recently that the US has sanctioned RSF leaders, but also a few days ago started saying that certain SAF commanders are Islamist and they're sanctioned too. So we get the impression that there's that efforts to stop the atrocities, to lift the sieges, sanction arms suppliers, and so on, are being stalled or undermined so the conflict can be prolonged. Because this is the goal, really, that we can see in Libya, in Yemen, in Syria as well, that they don't want solutions to the conflicts, but rather they want to break up the countries and prolong the conflicts so they can get their resources for as long as they want. Okay, so I will get into the stakeholders. So first of all, China, or before in the 2000s, ExxonMobil and Chevron were the main foreign companies producing oil in southern Sudan. And then they were replaced by China. China has an interest in the African markets. It has an interest on the western shores of the Red Sea, and of course in different resources. So this is why it supports the Sudanese army. On the other hand, the Chinese also supply weapons to the RSF, so they gain money through the weapons trade as well. And then we have Iran, who is also who also wants to a port on the Red Sea shore. They were supporting the Sudanese army until 2015, when the Sudanese army lent soldiers to the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen that were fighting against Iran-supported Ansar Allah. But recently, they have picked up their support again. To counter Emirati influence in the region and also show presence. Then the US and Israel provided intel and diplomatic cover for the ousting of Omar al-Bashir. And then in 2019, they also pushed for the normalization with Israel. They pushed for the Abraham Accords. But we can see that the US or countries like France, they try to stay in the background and rather, they can trade with the GCC countries. They can trade with neighboring countries and just supply weapons. So the US, with Trump's new Middle East plans, for example, gains a lot of financial support from the Gulf, but gives weapons in return. So they don't have no direct contact or culpability, but they still get resources from there. Then we have Russia, who is, as I said, trying to cushion the effects of sanctions. They supported the RSF until the beginning of this year, but it is not sure whether the private military company, the Russian one, Wagner Group, is still supporting the RSF or not. The Wagner Group is supporting Khalifa Haftar in Egypt, who is a warlord. He used to work for the CIA, and he supports the RSF. So we don't exactly know if Russia is still entangled with the RSF or not, and so serving both sides. Egypt supports the Sudanese army, and but Khalifa Haftar is supporting the RSF. And then also Khalifa Haftar receives support from Constellus AG, which is a very prominent American private military company who had to change its names twice because of war crimes they had committed. So they used to be called Blackwater, then Academy, and now Constellus. So what we can really see is that they just want to fragment the country so the looting can go on. Looking, did I cover everything? So yeah, we can see the Emirates are just a client state of the US, and
Hakim, someone
clearly...
commented about what you've said.
Pardon?
Could you check the comments? Someone commented about what you've said.
Okay.
Could you check the comments?
Let me see.
She said Haftar is connected to East Libya, not Egypt.
Yeah, definitely. He's Eastern Egypt. He's from Eastern Libya, but he receives support from Egypt and from the Emirates. Right, Yvonne?
Yes.
Yes. He could get indeed support from the Emirates, from Hameti, and also from Sisi. So that's correct. But in doing the presentation, you were talking about that he was connected to, or that he was from Egypt. So I make a small correction.
No, not from Egypt. Sorry, that came off wrong. Right. We'll move on. The slide is stuck. Sorry. Okay.
You're almost done. Please give us a heads up because we need to give people to like question session.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to make the connection why this extractivism is such a driver of genocidal and gender-based violence. So 30 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. There's famine, millions on the brink of starvation, and lots of displaced in neighboring countries and also suffering very bad conditions. Civilian infrastructure is targeted by the RSF to destroy foundations of life and accelerate genocide. So farms, hospitals, land is being seized, cattle is stolen, and wealth and all kinds of produce. Power plants, electricity plants, and water stations are destroyed, probably with the aim to trigger outbreaks of epidemics, also roads and bridges, and so on. And there are a lot of gender-based risks, as women are the main targets to impact the fertility rate. Also, activists and reporters are targeted, and we can really see that there is the goal to terrorize communities to get them off their land. This was done in southern Sudan and South Sudan to receive plots of land who have a lot of oil, to get plots of land who have a lot of gold. We see this a lot in Darfur nowadays, but also fertile lands and lands that contain a lot of cattle. And we can see that the violence is so bad that people are really terrified and flee when they know that the RSF is on the move. There's a very heavy stigma, mass suicides, people running off, scared to remain in contact with their families and so on. So we can see that the genocidal campaigns and the famine are aimed at emptying the land and colonizing it. And this is why the UN needs to be clear so we can introduce legal measures to start an intervention. And so, as I said, starvation is also used as a weapon of war. Famine is very disastrous because if a body is so malnutritioned, then the genome is being changed. Like in the Bengal famine, the children of victims of the Bengal famine develop diabetes, for example. And in Gaza, we can see that if a body is seriously starved, then surgery can't be performed, or people may die from taking in antibiotics because their bodies can't contain it anymore. And then there's the deadly refeeding syndrome. Metabolisms have to be prepared for food again. And yes, people have been surviving desperately off very little, like things that aren't meant to be eaten, and aid delivery is punished in Al-Fashir. 900,000 people are currently starving. A lot of people are being driven out of the region. Zamzam and Abu Shuk camp are being emptied, really. And yeah, normally these atrocities don't need an unanimous UN Security Council decision to trigger an intervention. So I had prepared 3 cases, but I think it's better that we will move on to the other presentations because they will get into the details of GBV and how how the ordinary population is affected due to this hunger for resources. And it is never a resource curse, as the Western countries like to say, but it's just their endless hunger for growth. So I had 3 cases, the one of Gisma Ali Omar, then one about checkpoints, and also one targeted killing of a Masalit youth who was asked if you were Masalit or not, and he said no, went off running, and then was executed. Last but not least, I wanted to get into peace building and how important for peace building cooperation with institutions, state institutions is, and protection by army or the ruling militias. Because in the current situation, in ongoing war, there's a siege, we can't get through, press is criminalized, they endanger their lives, they could be persecuted or put into prison. And so it is very hard to operate, and it's thinking of dialogue is basically absurd as mass atrocities are still being committed, mass rapes, torture, and so on and so forth. So we at Women Beyond Silence would like to launch the Peace and Love Letters to Darfur campaign to raise awareness and expose these crimes. And we want to signal people in Darfur that they are heard, that they're not isolated, not alone. And long term, we would like not only to raise awareness and funds and an understanding for what is going on, the injustices, but rather that there's like a strong solidarity network, engagement of diaspora, and maybe even policy influence, considering aid and foreign policy. Yes. So thank you very much. I know I put way too much into my presentation. These are the challenges that one faces during conflict. I will pass down all of that to you. I will give you a PDF with everything, also the notes I used for the presentation. Here are my resources. And thank you very much, and sorry once again for the length.
Thank you, Hakeem. You're amazing. You mentioned a lot of details, like personally as a Sudanese, I didn't know, I needed to know more about. And war is complicated. Everything is complicated. So you did a lot of research, you give it all your heart, and people need to do this in details. And I think you were great. And thank you so much for preparing this.
I'm happy you're content.
We'll give time for questions if there's questions, so go ahead.
Please don't hesitate to ask questions, to correct me, to teach me anything. For example, I don't know much about Kenya's interest in Sudan. Don't be scared.
Give 5 seconds, and then we'll go to the next speaker.
Please, everyone, turn your microphones off if you're not gonna speak. Ustaz Hassan, can you turn your microphone off? Okay. Does anyone have a comment want to say? Even if it's not a question, do you want to share anything with us?
No, I just want to say it was a great speech, and I learned a lot of things. So thank you for your time and for what you have shared with us today.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ajib.
Okay, I think we can go. If you thought of any question, you can still write it in the comment here on the WhatsApp group. We read it for you.
Also, if any questions come up later, we can speak about them, or even after the presentation, you can always reach out to me.
So I think we're good to go. Our next presentation is gonna be with Miss Petra. Are you with us? Petra? Or Madame Leperta? Speakers from DRC.
Bonsoir, bonsoir. Madame Lurat est ici présente. Je suis là. Merci.
Hello.
So let everyone know to change the translation from French to English, please.
If everyone translation is on, we can start. Madame Leberta, you can go.
Need to give them like a bit of 5 seconds before starting.
Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir à tous. Très ravie de participer à ce webinaire concernant les violences basées sur le genre en République démocratique du Congo. Solutions communautaires, plaidoyer pour les groupes marginalisés et actions humanitaires locales. Contexte général. La République démocratique du Congo est parmi les pays les plus affectés par les violences basées sur le genre au monde, notamment en raison des décennies de conflits armés, d'instabilité politique et d'insécurité généralisée. Selon le rapport de la MONUSCO, environ 40% des femmes congolaises ont subi des violences sexuelles au cours de leur vie. La guerre, la dégradation des infrastructures sociales, ainsi que l'absence de justice ont favorisé cette situation. Contexte général sur les handicaps. Les personnes en situation de handicap, souvent invisibles dans les réponses humanitaires, sont particulièrement vulnérables aux violences basées sur le genre. Selon un rapport d'handicap international, les femmes handicapées en République démocratique du Congo sont 2 à 3 fois plus exposées à la violence que les femmes non handicapées. Selon une étude de handicap international, les personnes handicapées sont souvent ignorées dans les interventions humanitaires. Elles sont particulièrement vulnérables à la violence sexuelle et à l'exploitation, et elles rencontrent des obstacles physiques et sociaux pour accéder aux services de santé et de protection. Les données de l'UNICEF montrent que les filles handicapées en République démocratique du Congo sont à 1,5 fois plus susceptibles de subir des violences sexuelles que les autres filles de leur âge. Objectif de la présentation. Nous allons, au cours de cet exposé, explorer les solutions communautaires existantes, les actions de plaidoyer pour les groupes marginalisés, y compris les personnes handicapées, et les mesures préventives mises en place par les acteurs humanitaires locaux pour répondre aux violences basées sur le genre. Cette présentation se base sur les données récentes provenant des rapports de la MONUSCO et des organisations locales comme notre rapport de monitoring mené de mars à mai 2025 en consortium avec ODDPH pour les incidents de violences sexuelles et des mécanismes de protection dans les quartiers Ndosho dans la ville de Goma. Comprendre les phénomènes de violences sexuelles basées sur le genre en République démocratique du Congo. Les violences basées sur le genre en République démocratique du Congo se manifestent principalement sous forme de viols, de violences domestiques, de mariages forcés et précoces, de traite des êtres humains. Les viols est l'une des formes de violence les plus répandues dans le pays. Selon la MONUSCO, en 2023, environ 123 000 cas de viol ont été recensés dans l'ensemble de la République démocratique du Congo, dont plus de 70% dans l'est du pays, selon UNFPA, mais le nombre réel pourrait être bien plus élevé car de nombreuses victimes n'osent pas signaler ces actes. Les solutions communautaires pour lutter contre les violences basées sur le genre en République démocratique du Congo. Pour répondre aux besoins de la communauté et voulant tant soit peu intervenir pour ces cas, localement, nous travaillons sur les volets suivants. Volet mobilisation communautaire. De nombreuses communautés en République démocratique du Congo ont adopté des stratégies pour prévenir et répondre aux violences basées sur le genre. Les leaders communautaires, y compris les chefs traditionnels et religieux, jouent un rôle clé dans l'éducation des populations et dans l'organisation des mécanismes de prévention. Volet création d'espaces sûrs. Des espaces sûrs ont été mis en place dans des zones touchées par les conflits où les victimes peuvent recevoir des soins médicaux, psychologiques et juridiques. Malheureusement, ces centres ne fonctionnent presque plus suite à l'absence de l'autorité de l'État dans certaines zones et l'absence de certains bailleurs de fonds sur le terrain à cause de l'insécurité. Pour la consolidation de la paix à travers les organisations locales. Notre plus grand rôle sur le terrain en tant qu'organisation proche de la communauté est, premièrement, prévention de la dénonciation et la dénonciation des violences basées sur le genre, en brisant le silence, en accompagnant les survivantes et en sensibilisant sur les droits humains. Au deuxième point, nous faisons l'inclusion active des personnes vivant avec handicap dans les initiatives de paix, de développement et de reconstruction à travers les paillotes de paix, les émissions radio que nous organisons souvent avec l'appui de certains partenaires. Au numéro 3, nous faisons l'éducation à la paix à travers les dialogues communautaires, des actions de cohésion sociale et la mobilisation des jeunes, des femmes et des leaders locaux. La réponse humanitaire de proximité en apportant un appui concret aux victimes des conflits et en posant des bases d'un avenir plus stable et équitable. Appel à l'action. Nous devons continuer à plaider pour une réponse humanitaire plus inclusive et plus équitable pour les personnes les plus vulnérables sont prises en compte à chaque étape de la réponse. Le soutien aux organisations locales qui comprennent mieux les besoins spécifiques des communautés est essentiel pour une réponse durable et effective. En conclusion, la paix ne se limite pas au silence des armes. Elle se construit à travers la justice, la dignité, la reconnaissance de chaque action, y compris celle des femmes survivantes de violences et des personnes vulnérables. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Roberta. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll stop sharing. If anyone have a question for her, you can say it now or in the text. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for what you have said and what you have shared.
Sarah, please go ahead.
So when it comes to the gendered violence that women face in conflict zones such as Sudan and Congo, there are multiple sociological factors that play into the victimhood of females in these areas. And I was wondering, what can we do as communities when approaching discussions about these matters to make sure that, like there was this quote that I've read that women don't take part in wars. They don't go out as soldiers because wars are fought on female bodies. Female bodies are battlefields in wars. So as communities in such war countries, I'm from Sudan, so I wanted to know regarding discussions of such sensitive matters, how can we approach it with appropriate sensitivity to make sure that we do not assign women this, how do I say this? Role of victimhood that is innate to their existence, which is not real. We can't just assume that it's part of the nature of war, it's part of the nature of the male gender to inflict harm upon other women when chaos breaks. And so, yeah, I hope I try to be clear as possible.
I may answer it and others can join too. So I think the first step is address all the minorities, not only women. Men get raped too. Children, people with disabilities are more high risk than women and men. So we need to put it clear. It's not only women. Women are big majority of it, but there are also other minorities that must be addressed in the community. And regarding the approach, like we have two approach. We need to approach the survivors and the community, and it's completely different. If you're approaching the survivors, they need to be protected. They need to be, they're not their fault. They need to have like a whole systemic approach that support them to breathe, so to come back to themselves, and they come back and talk about it. If we're dealing with a gender-based issue, we need people from the current effective situation. They need to talk about it because no one knows it in details more than them. Like for example, here right now we have a speaker, Bedria. She's currently in Sieg in Darfur. She's going through a lot. She may even die any moment we're talking because it's very bad in Al-Fashir. And she can't join us right now, and she can't even speak with her own voice because she might be targeted if her anything connected, so she's gonna share her record. So we face it right now, we're dealing, and we're trying to amplify the voices of the survivors. And I don't think survivor are a correct term because none of them are surviving right now. And this is the first approach. The approach for us as an activist and as people who's out of this zone, we keep going, we keep talking about it. We do awareness of GBV because people don't even know what GBV mean. And we try to fight because I think everything we know right now about GBV and about the right approaches is not correct. We need to define a new ways together. We need to build a new collective way somehow that adapt to the situation. Because obviously all the stuff we learned so far about how adapting is not working because no one is surviving, no one is doing okay right now. So it's not a practical answer because this is the situation right now and we just try to do our best. So for me, writing the right path, I think we've been acting it right now, like what we're doing together.
J'ai une question.
I agree, Sabine.
We have another question from Ida. Does anyone want to answer it? How does GBV affect long-term peace and security and in community? And thanks again, Sarah, for this question. We really need to ask this question so we think how to act. So, how GBV affect long-term peace and security in a community? I think this also we witness it specifically in Darfur for 30 years because rape is a systemic weapon and not just about raping the victim because the children of rape are now the RFS. Most of them are children of war. So, and they're children of war, they're being slaved, they're being sold, and they go again in a circle and they join the army. So raping for as a weapon is not just simply physical effect. No, it have a long term. This is why the war is keep going so far for 30 years. GBV is the main reason, because how a child is growing up in an environment where they see their parents getting killed, their mother getting raped, they become this. So the cycle of abuse, they never end. Does anyone have a comment or we go to our next question? Our next presentation. Okay. Then our next speaker is Berta. Are you with us?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay, introducing to our next speaker, Eva. You have the mic now.
Thank you very much. I don't know if someone can help me with the presentation because we have no electricity. I'm just using my phone.
So we can start now. We both have eyes and ears. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, as someone is helping with
I will open it for you. Just to give me a minute.
Thank you very much. So as she's doing it, I'll just do a brief presentation of myself. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are very happy to have this discussion with you. My name is ProZ Siraba, and I currently work at ODDPH as the protection officer. So ODDPH is a non-profit organization that promotes and protects the right of people living with disability in DRC. And my presentation is going to be to mainly talk about gender-based violence and how it affects women and girls in conflict settings. So I know we have so many definitions for gender-based violences, but I chose this one particularly because it's directly linked to how GBV affects women during and after war. So let's get to the definition. Gender-based violence, which is GBV in short, includes physical, sexual, emotional, and psychological, as well as economic and educational abuse, coercion, and threats directly at an individual based on their biological sex or gender identity. So here it's not only about women and girls. Here we see other gender minorities that include I think trans women and bisexual. So GBV can be presented in so many forms, and I chose these particular ones that affect women and girls during war and also during our daily life, not only outside of war. And the first one is sexual abuse, which is by definition an act attempted to threaten or is carried out to a victim without their consent. Sexual violence includes rape, sexual abuse, and harassment, as well as exploitation and forced prostitution. This also can also happen within marriage, and we call it marital rape. And it can also happen to minors, to children under 18. We have physical abuse, which includes physical violence, and it can be seen by beating, strangling, pushing, or even use of weapons. Here we see the knives, and some people even use guns. We have psychological abuse, which is a non-sexual abuse, but it's can be manifested during by verbal abuse and insulting or degrading the survivor. This includes psychological abuse behaviors such as controlling, on it can also go beyond and reach the blackmailing the victim. So we have domestic violence. This includes all acts of physical, sexual, psychological, and economic violence that occur within the family, domestic units, or between intimate partners. This can also go beyond homes where the partners live together, where the partner can also go and harass the person where they have gone for survival. We also have forced marriage, which refers to marriage concluded under forced or coercion, either physical pressure to marry or emotionally or psychologically pressure someone to go and marry the person they don't want to. It's closely linked to child or early marriage. When children get married before reaching the minimum age of marriage, this depends on the countries. Some countries will have 16 and others will have 18 years. So we have genital mutilation. It is an act of cutting or removal of some of all the external female genital parts. It violates human bodies and often damages their sexuality, mental health, well-being, and participation in the community. It can also lead to death. So we can't talk about all these form of GBV without talking about the online abuse, because we are living in a digital area where everybody uses social media, and these days we are seeing women being harassed through online platform, and this can go beyond, and people can even use messages to threaten people, and even sending messages, email, and also pedophilia. This includes also pedophilia, online pedophilia, and also blackmailing people online. So we also have socioeconomic violence. This one happens mostly where women are excluded in so many services and do not have access to health services, education, employment, and even denial in civil, socio-economic, cultural, and political rights. So let's go to the next slide and talk about GBV in conflict zone. During war or conflict, GBV become even worse. It's used as a weapon of war. Women and girls often face rape, torture, forced marriage, and even killings. Sexual violence, as I said, is used as a weapon of war, and it does not only affect women and girls. Boys and men are also victims, especially when they are in prison or in detention. So post-conflict, to the next slide, I think even when the war stops, GBV often increases, and we are currently observing this in Eastern DRC, where women have been ignored and being silenced, not to talk about what they are going through. And also with weak laws, many uncontrolled weapons, and broken family system, violence and discrimination, GBV becomes somehow normal. And this makes life harder, especially for people who are already in vulnerable groups. So next slide, we are going to the case study of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In Eastern DRC, conflict has forced about 7.8 million people to leave their homes, and women and girls face big risks. We have rape, sexual harassment, forced marriage, and physical assault are becoming very common in North, especially in North and South Kivu, and almost 40% of GBV cases are affecting minors and girls, children under 18. So survivors of GBV do not have access to medical care, mental support, education, jobs, or protection services. This is because so many NGOs have left Goma. I've left the two areas. I'm saying Goma because I'm from Goma, sorry, but we have North and South Kivu. And the airport is no longer working, so it's very hard for NGOs to deliver humanitarian aid. And even some NGOs that stayed are finding it hard to deliver these services because they don't have the right personnel. DRC also, for displaced people who returned home are facing stigma, exploitation, and abuse. This is not all, because DRC is also struggling with poverty and weak infrastructure. And these days we have so many families, especially the families in town and in the villages, that cannot even afford food since they have lost their livelihood before war and during war. Some families lost their homes, their farm, and all their economic activities. So this is becoming a big challenge that is affecting women, and they are facing all the forms of GBV that I explained and we went through together, and is stopping them from participating actively in the economic, political, and other areas that could promote sustainable development in DRC. So what does ODDPH do, our organization? So basically, we restore dignity to GBV survivors, especially women and girls with disability, because our main aim is working with people with disability, and this is done through psychosocial support, where we have a group of women, we have group discussions, women sharing their experiences, and also if you have some funds, we deliver how do they call them, dignity kits to rape survivors. So We promote gender equality and inclusion through GBV campaign awareness in North Kivu. This happens these days. We do not have enough funds, so we just do it in our means, and this is done in schools. We use our social platforms to do this. We also have education programs for conflict-affected women and girls with disability, because so many parents are finding it hard to send their kids at school because even banks are not working. This is a place occupied by the rebels, and the government closed the bank in that area. So even for people who do not have children with disabilities are finding it hard to send their children at school, and it's even hard for girls with disabilities to be thought about. For example, a parent will give the priority to their other kids and leave their kids with disabilities at home. So we promote that, and we have a school where children with disability have access to, and this includes primary and secondary education. We do advocacy for women and girls living with disabilities rights and protection, and then we do it mostly at the national level because during war there are people who have been ignored, and when people are fleeing war sometimes they are left behind and they become like very easy targets of rape by both the rebels and sometimes even the national army. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you're welcome.
So much for each. I have a question directly. Since you said silence allows the injustice to continue, what role do the men and boys play in both repairing and preventing PGV?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What role do men and boys play in preventing GBV? Since the silence allows the injustice to continue, what can men and boys play in this role to prevent GBV?
Thank you very much for asking. I will start answering the question by what we do. Mostly, our organization engage men to participate in GBV prevention, and that is done through our campaign awareness, where we do not only invite or involve women and girls, we also involve men and boys, and also in schools. When we go there, we talk to men and boys so that they can participate in preventing and ending GBV. And what can be done for other organizations is to involve men in this discussion, because if women are only involved in this discussion, men will feel like they're not even part of it. They're not part of the change. They will think that this is a woman thing and they have the right to continue doing it, and every time people will only talk to women. But if men are involved in this discussion, they will see the danger of what is happening. They will see how it affects women and girls, because I don't think that a father will be happy to hear that their children, their girl child, have been raped. That's why making them participate will make also them feel the emotions that women and girls feel when they are going through these violences. Thank you very much.
For explaining. If there's any question, anybody can go ahead and ask. 5 seconds.
Hello. I just have a question. Firstly, I want to thank you for this presentation. My question is, how can our voices push government and international bodies to to stop treating gender-based violence as a side issue, and start to illustrate to them that the GBV used as a main strategy for war, and how we can push them to make an urgent action regarding this.
Is she on? Hello?
If she cannot hear me, I can repeat it, my question.
Oh, I think I heard you. I just thought that you did not finish the question. So, during war, it's very hard to involve national and international organizations because everybody is running for their lives. But there are other organizations that stay to protect the victims. For example, the Red Cross, the International Red Cross, comes in and see people who have been injured, and sometimes offers directly help to women who have been raped. But during war, it's very, very hard to involve the international community and even international NGOs because we have cases of these UN soldiers of also being involved in the rape. During rape, everybody is a victim and everybody is also should I say every soldier is likely to commit rape because when they fail, they transfer their anger to these women who just want also to survive. So after war, I think GBV is always put aside and people always talk about engage in peace discussion, and in this peace discussion they do not involve women. We have our president going at the national level talking about peace, but it's very rare to see him going with women who have been victims of this war and who are going through GBV after war and during, to be part of that discussion. So I think we can raise our voices and make this a priority to this organization through advocacy. And this will take a long time. It won't be a very short should I say, it can't be seen in a very short time because so many NGOs have been doing this for a very long time, and their voice are being heard, of course, but not to the international extent. But if we continue raising our voices with them, I think this will make a change and they will take this at a serious note. Even if it's not during and after war, they can also help even in areas where there is no conflict. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your speech. Can we go introduce the next speaker if they're ready? Ansama.
Did you say Ansam?
Yes, our beautiful journalist and Samajib.
Thank you. So I'm gonna start by saying the breeze of peace strides proudly, security waves its cloud in harmony, democracy descends gently, and the homeland soil turns green. The one who opened fire in his tent, may he instead open his book. Knowledge becomes his light instead of stumbling lost in the wild. Every bird that once flew away returns to the nest it left behind. For when blossoms appear again, spring regain its sweetness. The country is still in its youth. The homeland is in the highest of its prime. It longs to see us, to hear the voices of its absent beloved ones. This is peace is the salt of emotion. It's a poet. It's a poem that is wrote by our beloved poet Muhammad Al-Hassan Salim Hamed, about what's happening in Sudan, the conflict in Sudan, the people being forced to leave their houses, their homes, their families behind, so they can escape danger, so they can live peacefully. But the surprises, Muhammad Hamed have died more than 10 years ago. So how is it possible that he knows about what's happening now? How did he know about the April 2023 war that happened or erupted in Sudan? The answer to this question could be very simple. It is because the war in Sudan did not begin yesterday, did not begin 2 years ago, nor 3 years ago. It has started decades ago. And in Darfur, particularly, it started in the 50s when Sudan gained or took its independence from Britain. But the ramification of what we see or witness right now is it's the ramification of the 2003 conflict that happened when the Justice and Equality Movement, the JEM, and the Sudan Liberation Army, SLA, had worked together to revolute against Khartoum's government neglect toward Darfur. So they were not satisfied about the treatment that the government in Khartoum did or practiced in Darfur. So how did the government in Khartoum reply or answer to what they have done? Because they have caused a little bit of a fuss to them, and they want everything to be stable, everything to be under control for them. So what did they do? They armed the Janjaweed militia, and this is when everything started. This is the beginning of everything. Why? Because they started a wave of violence that contributed to the killing of more of thousands, the displacement of hundreds of thousands, and the burning of villages, burning of people alive, and destroying their homes, forcing them to leave and to seek refuge in neighboring countries like Chad, and to settle in camps for displaced people. So it's not a war that began 2 or 3 years ago. It's a conflict that people have endured for many years now. And the international community said or described it or labeled it as the first genocide of the 21st century that what happened in Darfur. And the ICC, or the International Criminal Court, have issued many charges against and sanctions against officials in Sudan that have been proven to contribute in the conflict in Darfur, or the genocide in Darfur, to be precise. So, and in 2004, the U.S. Secretary of State, his name is Colin Powell, made an investigation using the satellite, and he figured out or found out images that shows the effect of what's happening, or the Janjaweed's war, or the Janjaweed's attack on these villages. So it was a damning evidence that showed that these actions are not a coincidence. The spread, or the consistent spread on the pattern of atrocities, the rape, the killing, the invading of the houses, and the burning of the villages. All of this was not a coincidence. It was something that was an action that was planned, because they needed, or they were trying.
Assam. Monique is asking if you can talk a little bit slower, so then she can follow it more. And in the meantime, Yolanda, your mic is open.
Okay.
Thank you.
So sorry, Monique, for speaking a little bit faster. This is I'm a little bit I speak a little bit like faster, so I'm gonna try to say slowly. So I've been telling you that in 2004 there has been an investigation opened by Colin Powell. He is a U.S. Secretary of State, and he made an investigation using satellite images, and he found out that there is a pattern of what's happening in Darfur, and it was not a coincidence, and could never be a coincidence, because what's happening in Darfur have been very, like, it was very, how can I say it, intent. They intended to do that because the killing and the rape and the burning of villages was spreaded in a pattern that could never be an accident or a coincidence. So their goal was to depopulate the Darfur region of its Arabic communities. They wanted of its non-Arabic communities. So they were targeting the blacks, the African of the region, because they wanted to, let's go back to the 50s. They wanted to depopulated from the black, the Christian, and the African, because this is what they wanted, to naturalize the country. It's out of a racist approach and a racist reason. So speaking about today's matter, specifically, we can say that the use of rape as a weapon of war is an important aspect, or is one of the most atrocious aspects of the genocide in Darfur, because they didn't exclude anyone. It was targeted towards anybody, as Berta said before. It's not only for women. They targeted children. They targeted elderly. They targeted women above the age of 70, children under the age of 10. They targeted men. They targeted every person that they could see. They could lay their hand on, because it was not a coincidence. They did it because they wanted to target or attack and destroy the fabric of the society. It's a long-term plan. It's not just a devilish action or an evil action. It was a long-term plan, so they can destroy it. They raped the children, the women, in front of their families, so they can humiliate them. They held their families at gunpoint, so they cannot help them. They cannot let them free. They cannot escape of what's happening. So it was an action. It was also an action of humiliation. Now it's 2025. 3 years ago, the war in Sudan erupted in April. So the global now can see it. The global now is focusing on what's happening in Sudan. Maybe what happened in Sudan happened for grab the attention of the world to what's happening in Darfur. They have not suffered or endured this suffering for 3 or 4 years. They have lived this kind of suffering for their whole entire life. Some of them did not even witness a day without a war. This is their reality. They woke up, they woke up to the life, they saw the life, they entered the life, living the fear of being killed, living the fear of being targeted, their homes being invaded, their families being raped, murdered, slaughtered in front of them. This is not a 1 or 2 or 3 years old war. It's their reality. They had to endure the trauma, the genocide, the rape. This is their whole entire life, their whole entire reality. So maybe what's happening now in Sudan could be a reminder for the world, for the whole, not only for the world, but also to the people in Khartoum. They had we in Khartoum had to leave our homes behind. Today we have homes, we have our families, we have our jobs, but tomorrow we woke up and everything is gone. But these have been the reality since they opened their eyes in the world. So maybe today we're gonna talking about it. It's a huge step toward trying to bring peace to them, because the only goal or the ultimate goal is not only to speak about it. We have to bring some attention to what's happening to them, so we can take so some political steps can be taken for them to end the conflict, to end the suffering that they have endured. So the organization here have conducted some testimonies from the actual survivors of the actual, not survivors as Tasabih said, because they are still suffering, but the people living there. So first, the testimonies say about the starvation and the price collapse. They say sugar, rice, and flour and oil price skyrocketed. sometimes reaching 25,000 Sudanese pounds for a single item. And they said, even if you have money in your hand, you might not find what to buy because there is no goods in the market. They also said, talked about the siege and bombardment. The city is under a consistent shelling with artillery fire hitting neighborhoods and forcing civilians to hide in their homes, and even their homes is not a guaranteed safe place. They might get killed in their homes. They also talked about the displacement inside the city. So people have been forced to move from one area in Al Fashir to the other to search for safety, while the elderly and women and also children are trapped, and they are like in the front line of clashes. The collapse of livelihoods. Testimonies described how farmers, traders, and ordinary families are unable to work, sell, or move even freely. Some say even if you have money, you cannot buy food because there is none. The desperation and fear, civilians recount nights of shelling, the sight of villages being burned in front of them, and the looming of risk of famine, and as humanitarian aid is still not not reaching them. So one last testimony actually sums up everything that have been said and everything that have been collected by saying, we are eating the little that remains. Everything is destroyed. There is no medicine, no safety, no food, no movement. So everybody knows that, and everybody is hearing about that, but maybe we cannot actually know or feel the feelings that they are enduring these days, and the siege that have been forced upon them to gain a political gain, or to gain money wise, or have other objective gains of that could be only reached by through their suffering. So even if we talked about it, we might not still be able to know what exactly they are facing, they are living. So we also conducted or have a recording audio. So maybe you want to translate to use your translator because it's in Arabic. We have a recording audio from a person, a girl that lives there right now. Do you guys have it on? So I'm gonna play it right now. Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أول شيء أنا بعتذر جدا إنه ما حقدر أكون في الوقت المناسب الساعة 7 مساء بتوقيت السودان، لأنه عندنا هنا في الفاشر بعد المغرب المسيرات الاستراتيجية بتكون آلاف في سماء المدينة، ممنوع التجمعات، ممنوع الإنارة ليلا. فدي من المشاكل اللي قاعد تواجهنا داخل المدينة، فبعتذر للمرة الثانية. وأول شيء ربنا يرحم الشهداء ويشفي الجرحى، وربنا يفك حصار الفاشر في القريب العاجل كده يا رب العالمين. ومن لا يشكر الناس لا يشكر الله. فأنا حابة أقدم لكم صوت شكر وامتنان للجميع وللمنظمة وللجهة اللي قامت بهذا الويبينار، وادتني الفرصة للمشاركة وتوصيل صوت المقلوب على أمرهم بمدينة الفاشر. أنا بدري عمر مختار السنوسي، ناشط في مجال العمل الإنساني وممثلة منظمة الفراشة للسلام والتنمية. فالليلة الخميس 25/9 حقيقة نحن في مدينة الفاشر يعني بنعاني شديد جدا، يعني منذ اندلاع الحرب في السودان وحتى هذه اللحظة. يعني احنا يوم لا وقفنا من اشتباكات لا وقفنا من تدوين، لا وقفنا من طلق طايش، الوفيات مستمرة. فأنا حابة أتكلم لكم في نقطتين بختصرهم لكم في حصار الفاشر وأثره على الأمهات والأطفال وكبار السن، وكذلك الانتهاكات اللي بتحصل بالنسبة للفتيات أثناء الاشتباكات أو في مناطق دي، أو بالأخص في مدينة الفاشر. يعني منذ اندلاع الحرب، يعني الليلة تقريبا داخلين في السنتين أو السنتين إلا نحن في حصار خانق داخل مدينة الفاشر. ما في شيء بدخل، لا أدوية لا أغذية، كل الحاجات تكاد إنه تكون معدومة داخل مدينة الفاشر صراحة. يعني الحاجة دي حتى بقت أكبر مما تتصور، أكبر من إنه منظمات المجتمع المدني داخل مدينة الفاشر أو المنظمات الوطنية داخل مدينة الفاشر أو الحكومة المحلية داخل مدينة الفاشر إنه تقدر تحل المشكلة. فالمشكلة دي كبيرة خالص داخل المدينة، غير إنه في اشتباكات. يعني الاشتباكات بتكون مستمرة، مرات 3 أيام بكون في إنه في اشتباكات مستمرة، مرات يوم بعد يوم، مرات مرة في الأسبوع في الاشتباكات. غير إنه التدوين المكثف ده على مدار اليوم أصلا. يعني ما حصل يوم نحن بيتنا بدون بدون تدوين، سواء كان بالدانات الصغيرة أو بالمسيرات الاستراتيجية بالإقدار دي، أو سواء كانت بالدبابة أو دبابة 55 أو الحاجات المعروفة، الأسلحة المعروفة دي. يعني دائما التدوين بيكون في المناطق السكنية أو الأحياء السكنية تحت المواطنين، وفي المساجد وفي الأسواق وأماكن تجمعات المواطنين. يعني في اليوم بيحصل كثير من الوفيات والإصابات، يعني وفيات بالآلاف، إصابات لا تقدر ولا تحصى داخل مدينة الفاشر. يعني الليل أكثر من كم ألف شاب أو مواطن داخل مدينة الفاشر بتلقى إنه جزء من أعضائه مبتورة، يعني إما تلقى اليد مقصوصة أو الرجل أو الاثنين مع بعض، غير إنه الإصابات الخطيرة الثانية، وغير إنه الوفيات اللي بتحصل يعني في اليوم، سواء كانت للكبار أو الصغار بسبب التدوين المكثف. ولا حياة لمن تنادي طبعا. وغير كده إنه بسبب الحصار الجوع الحاصل، يعني السلع والمواد الأساسية داخل مدينة الفاشر تكاد تكون معدومة. نحن بنتناول الأنباس ده علف الفول السوداني والسمسم اللي كان نحن بنديه لحيواناتنا أو للبقر زي ما بقولوا، نحن الآن بقينا نستخدمه ونتناوله كوجبة رئيسية في مدينة الفاشر. حتى الأنباس قد إنه يكون معدوم. الكورة الواحدة ب9,000 و10,000 جنيه سوداني.
So as if you heard, as what you heard, it was a part of her testimony, and the rest is gonna be shared with you guys, and it's gonna be public to everyone to hear and to listen to. This is just a part of their suffering. They have to eat the food that they used to feed their animals, and it is sold now. It is sold for them now. So even that, they're not capable of eating it or bringing it to their table freely. So this was just a part of her testimony, and the rest is gonna be available for you guys to listen to. And now I'm just gonna that was everything. It was the testimonies and the historic reality of what's happening today in Al Fashir. And thank you guys for your time.
If there is any question, please come forward.
Je vais essayer. Alors, tranquillise-toi. T'inquiète pas. Ouais. C'est bon, alors.
Thank you, Ansam. I think a lot of people, including Sudanese people, need to address that Darfur war didn't start 2 years ago. It's more than 30 years ago. and it's all related. It's just not a severe war, it's a proxy war, and a lot of countries are involved, feeding this war for 30 years just to solve their goal, and not being humans. It's very terrible. And we need to understand this. We need to understand it's not just people killing each other. They were born to be like this, and they were put in this situation. And now they're trapped in a camp. They cannot leave and have nothing to live for. And I hope we make a change. And that's why we have 7 demands for Darfur that I encourage everyone in this webinar to share them and to make a video demanding the one of the demands we share in the group, because this is how we create peace. We demand for peace. We demand for justice. And I hope everyone of you act upon this, and let's do this. Let's help each other. And even like our families and friends in Congo, they work in any kind of peace campaign and political, we're gonna join them, because we need to demand each other right, because none of us free unless we're all free. And we can go to our next speaker if we don't have any question, which is with you, Bono.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Kuka mwingine intervene mzungu sasa.
Hello for everyone. There are a few people who have the mic open. May I ask them to close it? Yolanda or Liberta? Your mics are open. Yes, thank you, Yolanda. Thank you both and others. I don't know about how you were listening. For me, it was quite impressive. For sure, the testimony from Ansan, Shukran. I will bring up my presentation when I succeed, of course. That's another issue. Yes, I did. One second. Something going wrong. I don't know. Now I'm confused. Oh yeah. So, yeah, I made it already last time with the webinar introduction about myself. I want to ask you first, how are you doing after hearing all those stories? I will try to talk a little bit about the healing prevention, but to be honest, I find it also really difficult, as you, most of you for sure, have more experience and thoughts, and a little bit is already shared too by the speakers before me. I'm coming from the Netherlands, and even when I lived for a long time in Libya and things like this, I'm privileged comparing with you. So anyone who likes to join and say, how are you doing? It's stay silent. Because actually this part will go about how to give support when there is no support. Because when you're living, by example, in Darfur, and there maybe are some NGOs over in Goma, we also know that not all the NGOs can give the aid they maybe want, or maybe even they are violating the rules and giving traumas to the areas. Does anyone have an idea what they need, or something idea, or they want to give by themselves for this? May I ask you about this?
I think as Ruba, by saying how to give support when there is no support, maybe as in creating awareness as we are doing by now. Is it part of that?
Yeah. Okay. Now I have to admit that actually when you see the next slides, I will also say there is always support. Only it's even closer by than you maybe think at the first moment. It starts with yourself. The best support can be given by yourself. However, when you are not able to do it because of your own situations, your own mind becomes already too depressed, it's not your fault. It's your challenge. So the strength is in each. And everyone is different, even individual difference. Several before me already spoke about GBV. It's connecting to it's not only about women, it's also about men, it's also about children, it's about disabled people. And to be honest, I love about this webinar that this is all named. And even by women are also different, men are different. Between them, we each needs a different approach. And you need to be aware of this too. There you have a sense of coherence, they say. And the purpose to rebuild or restore yourself is manageable. It's about giving yourself the support, cognitive or emotional support. There are many different ways. And there is no wrong way. And the most easy way, and also ask you all to bring a paper and pencil next to you. What can help yourself is also by making a bingo challenge for yourself. Having the positive thoughts is helping yourself. The meaning of life is not about the moments and things. It's not even by the situation, the trauma you got. It's bigger. And to get the separate parts about the trauma in yourself, helping you building up some energy, making a positive mind is helping. Partly related to emotional part, or otherwise by the cognitive part. And bingo can help. Do some exercise to remind you. You make a cross. You can also make this as an example. You can also make one by yourself. And jump in the sky several times. Your energy will grow by this. And it gives some positive feeling. I actually, when you see the Western bingos, then they say do gym, make a walk outside. But when outside is dangerous, don't go outside. But you can do an exercise. Make a sit up or something like this. Therefore, you don't need a lot of more space. Tell you the people around you, or even to yourself, a joke, or not even joke. Put your cheeks up and make a smile. Even the feeling of making a smile, even when it's a forced one, it's a positive one. For myself, I even many times, when I was in a really hard time, I put myself in a mantra and everywhere I could see on my screen, on my telephone, computer, on my car, and everywhere I put the text enjoy. And I show you, my life was not enjoyable, but I trained my brain to see the beauty, small things, and spark from the sun, or the nice color from a flower. And by this, I develop a positive mindset and makes it easy to overcome the difficult time. Dare to ask help. There's not a problem to ask anyone for help. And maybe somebody else has another idea how to deal and deal with the trauma or something like this. Any suggestions, ideas? I love to share because you have more experience than I have, unfortunately. So I also like to learn.
Like everyone can talk about their coping mechanism. Those who went through war or through personal suffering, they can share how they cope with it, and we can help each other by
Yes,
knowing new different mechanisms.
Yolanda, you have an idea? Rida? Oh, Sarah, please. May I hear yours?
For me personally, the thing that helps me cope with hardships is writing things down, not necessarily like a journal, because I find it really hard to articulate my feelings and emotions. So every day I would set a timer for about 10 minutes. And in these 10 minutes, I just write every single thought that I have in my brain, whether everything is connecting, whether it makes sense or not. I would just write everything down. Even if my handwriting is ugly, I would just keep writing and writing and writing. And when the timer sets off, I find that, I have this mental clarity because all of this chaos in my brain have now been moved to an external medium, and I'm able to look at, these issues and problems more clearly and learn how to deal with them and make peace with these hardships. So yeah, it helps a lot, but it takes practice. So like every day, just like set a timer. It can be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and just write everything. I hate this person. I like this person. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? The weather today. I ate this. I said this. Like every single thought in your brain. It does help a lot.
I love it. I really do love it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Other people. Because, by the way, I know, I recognize also the writing part, so empty your mind and everything. And also when you read it later back, then you see a kind of development, and this just makes it easier to carry sometimes. It's my experience.
In my experience, when I was in Sudan, I think I coped my feelings with my friends, like talking each day with my friends and releasing the negative energy and understanding myself is like talking to my best friend day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes or just going out for a walk, maybe that will do for me.
Nice. There's also good examples. Other people. Monique? Oh, wait. Oh. Or others? More examples?
I think it's important we share our coping mechanism because just to let go of the overwhelming. And I like how she said like 10 minutes routine. I'm gonna use that for me because I like writing, but I never thought about 10 minutes. It's easy. So we give each other ideas. For me, my coping mechanism, it depends on the emotion. If I was feeling anxiety and very angry, I go for a walk, I go for jogging. If I feel like emotion overwhelmed, I will paint or write. So we need to know each emotion and what to do with each one.
Yeah.
I see Perta.
Greta? I love to hear yours.
Your mic is mute.
Greta?
Sorry. Yeah. For me, it's not mine specifically, but in the community where we live, especially in Goma, when people go through trauma and isolation, the most mechanism that we use is, should I say, spiritual healing, where we have prayers, we have these worship songs that people use and gather. It can't be like a community or a neighborhood coming together, but it's also sometimes a family like taking that time to pray and sing, and that moment really gives you a new way of thinking about what you are going through or you have been through, and helps you cope with trauma.
I totally recognize this, and actually also by science. However, I have to admit, most science is what I could find is delivered by Western, but still, I think it's connecting also to your mechanism you're telling. Best way they say to coping it, the trauma, and in psychological way is to talk about it by yourself, you develop your own strengths. But in the second way is indeed the spiritual way. This the other way. So trust yourself, your own strength is very important. And sharing the pain or the fear isn't a weakness. It's actually a strength, because the moment that you share, it gives also some space for other energies. And it makes it easier to carry the trauma or to release it. Also, it makes it easy for other people to respond, because other people know, they feel also your trauma. And like everyone, most everyone actually, they want to help others and each other. But when you don't speak or don't reach out or something like this, it makes it harder also for other people to try to help. So in multiple way, it's important to speak. And the second part is indeed also the spiritual way, the religion, the prayer. To have this moment, because it's not only about you in the moment then, but also to have a connection with the spiritual guide you trust. And for one, it's God. For another one, it can even be a tree these days. But the trust and the connection you can have with somebody else helps you. It makes it stronger to survive a trauma. Hope and trust. Even when it's the hardest time, try to trust. Even when you never get an answer on why something happened. This is a crazy question, actually, and a difficult question why things happen. Just ignore it. Because it's not important even for sometimes. It's about how to deal with the moment and to survive, to go and continue to build a connection with others in yourself. Hope and trust. By this, it's also already mentioned before, community. You are not alone. Share. Build up. It's also helping in the prevention. Because the stronger you have a connection with other people, it's easier even to prevent a trauma, but also to release the trauma, because you can carry it together. The other guy, and what I mentioned, it's a strength. For this, I hope everyone recognizes Catherine. Acknowledge the pain and the fear. Don't hide it. Share it. In the meantime, don't embrace it, because it's a moment. Don't get into it for a long time. But you are allowed to cry. Actually, I sometimes, can you put it in the bingo? I look for a movie or a video or something. It can be a stupid video of a film, but I will cry. I want to cry. And not because of the story in the video or the movie, but to release some tears. So the bucket will become a little bit empty for the moment. It's helping to have, again, more positive feeling. But also check people around you. Not everyone is able to talk. Check on them if they have a change of behavior, or maybe become silence. Check what happened. Maybe they developed new trauma or depression. In the meantime, recognize also that silence can be done because people know that you have a trauma and they don't know how to deal it with you, what to say, how to respond, and therefore they step away. So don't blame somebody when they stay away and you don't see or hear anything. It's also a kind of protection for themselves because they are also in a hard time. By your heart, you know that the other people are still connect to you. Even when you don't or hear or see them, you know they're the best. But the situation can change things. Trust, again, in yourself, in each other, and time. And then we have Goma with the questions. I hope I could bring a little bit after many information from other speakers, another part of the webinar. I don't know if you want to bring up more coping methods or have other questions, or maybe have ideas how to continue the webinars or other activities. Let us know.
Eat your space. So if there's any questions, come forward, please.
I couldn't find the rising hand emoji, so I just.
Oh,
yeah.
Hello, Anson. Please
Hi.
let me know. Salam alaikum.
So I just wanted to elaborate about the part of that you talked about sharing your feelings with others, because having a sense of community in your life. So I have a story about this.
Oh, please.
Many months ago, like my auntie died in Sudan. So me and my sisters and almost all of my family are we really relocated to Egypt right now. So we were almost all of us were together. So we were able to think about it. It sank in because we are together. So we were able to know what's happening, to understand what's happening, to acknowledge her, that we're gonna miss her, but she's gone. We might meet again, like whatever you think or you believe spiritually. So because we were together, we were able to acknowledge it. But my sister she lives in Dubai, so she wasn't with us. So she's still in denial. She couldn't comprehend the information. She still thinks she is alive, and she believes she is alive. But I think this incident made me believe that in your community with the people around you, you can overcome any hardship in your life. But when you are alone, it's difficult. Even with something as basic as acknowledging like that you have lost someone. So I do agree with you in that point, and having a community around you is very important. A lot of us these days feel like they do not need people around them just because technology made it easier to not need people, but we need to need people. We have to need people because this is our true human. This is just a basic human behavior. We meant to live in community. We meant to live together. So even if it's easy to live without other people's, just go ahead and do it. Involved in your community, involved with your people, your family, your sister, your brother, your sisters, and your brothers. Is gonna change everything for you. It's gonna be a game changer.
I cannot say it better than you did, Hassan. Shukran.
You're welcome. عفوا.
Yes. Yes, no, this is indeed the most important part also for me, having people around me, and not always directly by my own situation, but I know by heart that I have this connection and things and people and asking me every Friday. I am in the Netherlands at the moment, but every Friday afternoon around 2 o'clock, I get couscousi. I get this couscousi by a picture because the family from what I'm connecting to, they're eating at that time the couscousi, of course, and they make a picture and share it with me, so we eat together. And by this, it's really fun. Wallahi, كويس, shukran. So you belong to somebody and people care, you know that people care about you. And also at Friday morning, every time, many people sharing Juman Babarak. Yeah, and it makes it easy to carry heavy hearts. So shukran.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Other people. I love to hear more this kind of stories, by the way. Love it because it makes it easier to also for other people and kind of examples how to copy and also knowing that actually almost and for sure in this group I think everyone has history and traumas and challenge in life. And in the comments already people mention also that
I think
it's important to yeah, believe in your self-acceptance van Hakim, Shukran Hakim, is very important to understand yourself. And this is also what I mentioned in the previous webinar, knowing yourself, your own strengths, your own challenge, your weakness. By this, it makes it also easier to accept the trauma or to deal with the trauma. I have to, let's say, Sarah, you have a question or a comment.
I just wanted to add into the aforementioned point about how a sense of community can save people's lives. And I wanted to share my perspective as a woman in her early 20s who was helping her elder family members navigate their trauma from war. So
there is somebody with a mic open. I'm not sure who.
no, I'm sorry. Someone was talking to me.
Oh, it's you. I'm sorry. Then continue
No, I'm really
your
sorry.
story and let the other people come too. Say
Yeah,
welcome.
so
Hadley.
what I was saying is that I do have a lot of elder family members, my aunts, my uncles, who have been extremely affected by the war in Sudan, whether mentally and physically, but they have a hard time coming to terms with the fact that they are affected. Many of them have PTSD, many of them have depression, many of them have anxiety, but they consider these Western Western illnesses. When I would bring it up to them, like, hey, you know what? It's not normal for you to be so jumpy whenever someone opens a door, for you to, avoid loud noises. And they go, oh, Sarah, you just love parroting these Western talking points. And I told them, oh, no, 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 that's not what I'm trying to say. So I just try to find the appropriate language to convey these messages to them. And I find it quite helpful, honestly, because when I do start conversations like these, they do find a safe space where they can share their emotions and share how they feel like this war has shattered something in them, and how they don't even know how to voice it out. They don't know how. I mean, it's very expected. Us young people, we have the terminology, we have the terms, we have the words to identify what we're going through, what we're feeling. But many of these old people, they're either in denial, or they do not accept anything that uh terms that they're not familiar with. They say it's Western, this is just like foreign ideas. But like after a very long time, I spent about 7 months around family members because we were locked together in Sudan, of daily conversations about these matters. But I would avoid using the keywords like depression or anxiety or PTSD. I wouldn't mention any of these keywords so that they wouldn't think that I'm trying to lead them somewhere. But after a very long time, I found that it was really helpful to them to come to terms with the fact that they do actually need help. They need to engage in conversations. They need to be open about what they're feeling, because it has an actual effect on their day-to-day lives. It has changed them as people. They change their personalities, their perception of life, how they navigate their day-to-day life. So yeah, I just like thought about sharing my perspective with dealing with
I love it.
elder people when it comes
I
to these
love it.
subjects.
And I really, really, really love to talk more about it with you, Usama, because I think I can learn a lot. And things like this I don't know about others. Because this is also what I mentioned before, that I, from my side, find it hard to mention things, knowing, and I learned a lot, already a lot, the difference. And in the meantime, I was listening, and I was from, oh, it's like that I hear my own grandparents. They will say the same. They will not say the Western part. They will say the youth. So this is the modern way of blah blah. In the meantime, I also got the idea for, okay, when people were saying, then it's when they have the action response on a certain sound. So you can say, okay, this is not healthy, and tackle the trauma or something, or because they will deny, making a joke, and then create the open door of an opening to start a conversation, maybe. Because I know that many like to deal with it in a joke. But yeah, I am really impressed, Sarah, with your story and your approach. Huge respect.
Thank you, Sarah, and thanks for Ansam for sharing her personal story. Well, can we give a chance even to Hakim, because he raised his hands as well?
Oh yeah, I did not see his hands. Of course.
No worries, no worries. I thought also it was important to give space to the others. I just wanted to say that I really liked Ansam's point about community, because when you asked how we were doing, Yvonne, I wanted to say that I'm actually doing quite good, because I'm enjoying the seminar so much, and that it has such different elements. That Ansam made an entry with poetry, and I really liked it. And since I was working with you, it also lifted my mood these past weeks, because I have a place where I am understood, or where I can speak about things I am concerned with, but there are barely echo chambers in my social environment here in Germany, where people acknowledge the crimes and the realities of people in conflict zones. So I also wanted to say earlier that a good coping mechanism is to get active and to stay active and hopeful no matter what's going on. That's what helped me in situations of powerlessness. And co-creating this webinar gives me a sense of power and of realizing ideas and getting active. Yes. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, because indeed, first of all, I'm happy to hear that the connection with Women Beyond Silence. I totally follow your comment and response on this, because they are also great women behind of it. That's for sure. And they collect many beautiful people around them. So I totally understand your comment. And related to be staying active, indeed, this is helping too. I have only one recommendation. Be aware that you also take some time to rest. It's okay to have a moment, or even a day, or even 2 days that you totally collapse. This is okay. Dare to trust that you have the strength to take yourself back and to go back to an active anything, because you are having, for sure, when you're still in the middle of the trauma situation, in the conflicts or any other situation, you are dealing with huge amount of stress. So it's okay to push yourself for a moment down before you continue being active in the surviving mode. So yeah, it's not dare to trust yourself, your own energy. Do I miss more hands, actually? Rida, you have a better view than I have.
No, I think we reached an ending. So we thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks everyone, each one of you. With that being said, I would like to say thank you so much to each speaker for your powerful presentation today. Your words have not only been our understanding of gender-based violence and peace building, but also reminding us of the urgent and the responsibility we all share in creating safer, more just community. We are grateful for the time and energy you have given us, and for the work you continue to do beyond this webinar. On behalf of everyone here today, thank you for being a voice of the truth, resilience, and hope. I would like to encourage you guys to join our peace and love letter compound to Darfur by writing solidarity letter that will reach them directly by sharing our demands, or call it by yourself. We are grateful for the time and energy you have given us, and for the work you continue to be beyond this webinar. So with that being said, we look forward to carry this lesson forward. Once again, thank you.
Thank you so much too. I have also one last moment. Please say the names and everyone, because we have now the webinar, but don't hesitate to reach out to people inside the group or the whole group when you want to share something, or you have a question or anything. Reach out. You are not alone. This is a group. Let it grow and support. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. You're all been amazing, and I love you all so much. And I'm glad you stayed up like for 2 hours and more. Like, you guys are all amazing. Thank you for the speakers, for the audience, and let's keep fighting this. Let's keep doing good, inshallah. Now we're all gonna leave. If you have something else, you can please, for the speaker, share your LinkedIn in the group so people can contact with you, and your presentations too. Does anyone want to say something before we leave? Madam Roberta.
Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you everyone for this effort. Thank you to Sabih for what you have done, collecting and working very hard in this seminar. You have been doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Okay. We're gonna leave now and wish you a great night.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye bye.
Good night. تصبح على خير.
You guys are so cute.
نعم Me kake nema? Wani littafi? Ina assignment ɗinka da baka yi kenan. Ba ga shi nan ba?